Yo, you guys had to see this one coming. Whenever we finish a project, especially something that's been going on for a long time, yeah, we do a lessons learned on the next Tuesday morning tech tip. Something I learned when I was in the military. We always did on after detachment or deployment or something like, what'd you learn? What could you do better? What worked well? What was terrible? Your prep, all that kind of stuff. So that's what we're going to do on this week's Tuesday Morning Tech Tip from Pugliese Speed Shop. There she sits, guys. Together once again, Scotty's 1954 F100. It was a simpler time for the Ford truck. Back when there really wasn't a lot to them. Don't be fooled, though. Just because there's not a lot to it doesn't mean there's not a lot to it. We'll talk about that more here in a minute. It's probably saw it for a while. It's sat where the Cutlass is at right now, and then sat back there probably for about a year or so in each location. I'm not going to tell you exactly how long it's been for two reasons. Number one, I really don't remember. That's how long it's been. And number two, it's embarrassing. It's a little embarrassing. I'm not like, all hurt myself about it, but it's embarrassing. It's frustrating. It's a lot of different things. And honestly, guys, if you don't have that going along on a project of yours, well, I don't know. I'm gonna say you're lying because you're gonna feel a lot of emotion when you're trying to put something together. And it's a little different. No, scratch that. It's a lot different when it ain't yours because, well, we'll sit down and talk about that too. There's a lot of things we're gonna have to sit down and talk about because we learned a lot. We learned a lot about ourselves. We learned a lot about Ford. We learned a lot about 50s trucks. We learned a lot about doing work for somebody else. We learned, guys, the list goes on and on and on. And to be perfectly honest with you, I've actually started and stopped this little intro here about 12 times because I keep either saying too much or I get frustrated again. Man. Guys, I think we're just going to sit down, we're going to have to talk it out, and hopefully I can explain it in a way that everybody can understand. And if you're mad at me at the end of it, I'm going to be all right. All right, we're going to try and get through this in like one take without any interruptions, whether it be myself, the weather, because we got some storms going on, all that. We're just going to roll with it, all right? And the only way I can do that is to start from the very beginning. Me and Jay had known each other for years. Turns out we actually deployed together in 2004. Didn't even know it until we met up again. Well, for the first time. Over here in the base where we work now. And, you get to talking, find out you're both in the cars, that kind of stuff. And as I've mentioned in other videos, Jay's the kind of guy that wants to help everybody out. And it's a great personality trait. It may not be the best for his planning and all that, but he's a good dude, right? So part of that is him and Scotty grew up together up in Baltimore, known each other since high school, probably before that. And which at the same time, Scotty got this truck. It's been, I want to say 36 years that Scotty's owned it. Now, it's not like in that time he didn't do nothing. Don't take that the wrong way. I'm sure there's been breaks and all that kind of stuff, but you guys saw underneath this truck. You guys saw under the hood. You guys saw everything on this truck. It's amazing. It's a complete frame off. I think the frame is the only original thing to the truck. I guess it was sitting somewhere. I think Jay saw it on the school bus, and then he told Scotty about it. They went and looked at it, whatever it might be. So there's a lot of, I think the cab he got from a guy in Carlisle that came out of like Arizona. And the doors are actually local. This door here, you can see it actually says something about Towson, which is up there by Baltimore. Company up there, that was pretty cool that he found those. And The bed, with the exception of the other side where that pocket is for the tire, that they don't repop that fender. So that's original. But then the rest of the bed, I believe the bumper, the front clip is all repop stuff. Which is great, guys, because dealing with rust is terrible. It doesn't always fit the best, though, right? So but we'll get to that, all right? So me and Jay are at work, and we're walking the flight line doing our morning FOD walk, where you look for everything on the ground so the jets don't suck nothing through the intake. And he says, "Hey, man, you paint?" I said, "Yeah, a little bit." I've painted a couple cars. You guys see, I think my brother's Trans Am on the channel. Now, that was a super cheap spray bomb job, but it came out pretty dope. I did my 53 Caddy. I did that 88 Dodge I had. A few others I can't think of right now. But, I've been messing with it for a while, since I was a kid, really. My dad used to mess with it. And a lot of backyard jobs, right? Is kind of where we're at. I worked at the paint booth when I was in the Navy for like a year and some change, redoing all the SE for the carriers and all that stuff. So, especially that was all single stage, which is what Scotty wanted. So yeah, now it's been a while since I've done a complete paint job, and I guess it'll be a while longer. But I said, yeah, we could do that. And he's like, "Yeah, man, he just wants a shot, real quick." Originally, his daughter was getting married, and she wanted to use a truck for that. And I said, "That's cool. Yeah, sure." So let's get it done. Well, how long did it take you to do it? I said, "I don't know. Prep it, paint it, all that, a month, if that, This is where things started to go terribly awry. What Jay was describing was like a quick Earl Scheib and, be done with it. Make it look good. Better than Earl Scheib. I wasn't going to paint the windows and the door handles, nothing, but I was under the impression everything was done, prepped up, the truck was together, and we were just going to shoot it. That was not the case. So that's on me, because I should have said, "Hey, you got some pictures? Can we go take a look at it?" Something more than this conversation we had for 5 minutes. And I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll do it." So turns out she ended up not getting married, and which gave us more time. So also, when Jay talked to me about this, I didn't have a lot of projects going on. I think I was working on Le Mans. We didn't own the Bel Air yet. We didn't own the OBS yet. We didn't have the Suburban yet. We didn't have all these things, right? We weren't trying to put the 65 back together yet. That wasn't even started. We didn't have Chippy's car down here. There was a lot of stuff we didn't have. The Jeep was actually a daily driver at that point in the game. I think John was actually borrowing it, so I didn't even have that like in my scan. It was just, I probably had the Caddy in here at the time, because I always had the Caddy in here. But I wasn't like, I was kind of between some things, and I was like, yeah, I can knock that out. Well, it ended up being 3 or 4 months until they brought the car down, because there wasn't that deadline anymore, right? We had a new deadline. Scotty wanted it for the 70 years of the Y block. This has a Y block in it, and it's 54, first year of it. So he's like, "Yeah, I want to do that." He wanted to put it in the Carlisle show, I think it was. So we're like, "Yeah, that's cool. We can do that." Well, and it was definitely doable, right? In my brain, for what I thought I was getting into. They actually brought the truck down. I remember it was kind of ironic. I was in Baltimore coming down with the trailer at the same time they were. They showed up at the truck the same day I showed up at the Bel Air. And I guess I had never met Scotty before. And it was kind of oh yeah, well, Jay's told me about 6 times it's coming so far, so we'll see when it gets here. I'm not worried about it. I'm going to get this Bel Air for the kid. And so we were kind of screwed from the get-go. Because if you remember, when I got the Bel Air down here, I immediately started working on it. And you could say that was a dick move on my part, and I guess it kind of was, but I was definitely more interested in the Bel Air for a number of reasons, right? Number one, it was for Andrew, right? It was for the kid. And then also the Chevy is a car that I enjoy. You guys have probably figured out I really dig patina, especially on the older cars. There's some things yes, some things no. Okay, like on my OBS, I do not. I've seen some like it, don't dig it. My 65, love it. Square body, love it. That Bel Air, love it. So, you know, the newer ones I'm not a fan, I guess, is really what it is. But so I directed my attention there, and the Le Mans, and then Andrew's caddy broke again. So yeah, we were kind of started working on a little bit, and guys, I was overwhelmed. When I saw it, I was like, okay. That was really I remember coming down the hill, and I don't think I was able to mask my my reaction as well as I wanted to. I don't know. Because I really thought it was together. I was going to, like, you know, scuff it, sand it, shoot it type of thing. But I saw it was sitting. I saw the 65. Yeah, we didn't have the Suburban yet. So the 65 was sitting out there, the green one that I had for a while, and against the tree that I pushed it into, it was sitting right next to it. And as I came down the hill, I was like, "Oh man, that's not what I thought it was going to be." So the doors were so cockeyed. I remember Kevin was looking at it. He came by a couple of days later or whatever, and he's like, "Hey man, that's a problem." I was like, "I know." Now he grew up in a body shop, so he understands this stuff way better than I do. And he was thinking, "You got to pie cut things and everything else," and I was like, "Well, I did not sign up for any of this, you know." So I was immediately kind of overwhelmed, frustrated. There's a lot of different words you could use, but I was like, man. And I was really worried too, because I was like, I don't care about doing this stuff on something I own, but Scotty obviously loves this thing. What if I screw it up? So I was not trying to cut doors or nothing like that. So turns out that wasn't all needed. Ollie's garage has been a big help, telling me a lot of things. He's a Ford guy, so he's telling me. Well, he told me first off that these doors are very hard to get on any other cab. So with how these things lined up, you can see the lines in the background there. Yeah, I'm going to do it. Me and Jay did a good job on that. And they're better than I think they ever were going to be. And that was part of the problem too. Both of us were trying to get so crazy with it. And Scotty really wasn't that concerned about it being all perfect. He just wanted it done. And I get it. The doors were rough, not as rough as the front clip, which still isn't right. And that's where all that repop stuff comes in. The left fender and the hood are good, pretty close to perfect-ish. The right fender still needs some more work. We did a lot of hole elongating and tweaking and all this kind of stuff. I did a little bit of massaging some metal on the hood and all that, to try and get it all set up, and it's a lot better there. We actually Jay and I went out looking at other cars at car shows, and even like pulling up online, and even on those, the lines are not perfect. Watched a video, actually, a guy that did have one that he made perfect, and that was his full-time job. He's a body shop guy. It took 8 hours a day for 6 months to get that done. This is a professional guy. You know, so we were kind of set up for failure on that. Not on purpose. Okay, don't take that the wrong way, but you don't know what you don't know, right? So I was slow moving on it, and Jay saw it, right? And he said, "Hey, I'll come over and help you out," because he realized that, you know, he kind of got me into this thing that was out of my comfort zone for sure, and more than I was planning on taking on. And it become fun. Every Tuesday he'd come over and we'd work on it. It was just like how our schedules lined up. And we get after it, and that's how we got the front as close as we possibly could. And then the doors, damn near perfect. We saw how the spare tire thing fit on. We got the one fender media blasted, and then did some body work on it. There was just a lot of things, guys. It was slow going. Just to get that front clip was crazy. And then even putting it back together, we got most of it, but like the hood latch and all that, it was a lot to it. And in the video that just come out right on the truck, there's a spot where we're time lapsing that front end. And guys, that was over an hour of footage that the kid condensed down to like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it was. We stopped. He stopped in the middle when we gave that note to Scotty. Hey man, there's adjustment points in there. It almost looked like Jay likened it to a washing machine. How you spin and it can kind of do it, which that's not how it is. We thought so. We tried. That's not it. But that whole front end, it's a floating front end to begin with. It's not what I'm used to, where everything just bolts to the frames. It kind of does, but it doesn't. So, yeah, it's without that lined up, that was a huge part of the problem. Now that everything's tightened up, we couldn't tighten those two bolts up without taking the whole thing apart again, and we didn't have the parts to fit in there anyways. So we decided not to do that. But now that everything's tightened up, it's snug. Nothing's moving. The whole front end was moving around before. Now it's like you hit it and it stays there. So that's good, right? But there was times, guys. So we did the Tuesday thing for a while, and we were making money on it. Scotty came down over a weekend, and what did we do then? We messed with the hood, and then when Jay went up there, or maybe Scotty brought it down, we had that tool to adjust, to get the coils in the springs and all that put into the hinges on the hood, so it would actually hold up and work right. And I'm super happy. That's like a really largely watched video, which after we got our asses whipped by it for a while, I can understand why. But so we were constantly learning something, which is great. It's stuff I'll probably never use again because, as you guys know, I'm not really a Ford guy, especially these trucks. And that's kind of part of it, too. Nothing against, everybody's got different tastes, guys. And I've said this before. I thought I learned this lesson working with my brother on his Trans Am. I'm not a third-gen guy by any stretch of the imagination. I kind of make fun of him about that car every chance I get. And some of it's just, he's my little brother. But as we were talking about how he wanted to do things and how I would do things, I realized I'm entirely too opinionated to really work on other people's stuff to that level, right? Where there's any kind of creativity in it. Because he's telling me, I was like, that's terrible. Why would you do that? And it's like, well, why, I really shouldn't be shitting all over his stuff because it's not right. That's how he wants to do it. That's how he wants to do it. As long as it's not dangerous or whatever, then cool, I'm not a big original guy. And you guys see that's what Scotty's doing, which is great. I mean, there's plenty of hot rods out there, guys. There's nothing wrong with doing stuff original. When it comes to trucks, I like them lowered and this. You've seen my trucks. So that's how I like to do them. I like to, patina, lowered, kind of, I don't want to say rat rod because that's totally played out. People purposely make it look trashy, and that's not my thing. But so maybe that's why I couldn't get motivated behind it. There's a lot of reasons, but that's a huge one. I learned that about myself, that if somebody wants to come over and they need some help with doing oil change or fixing like whatever or something, fine. Wayne came by the other day, rotated tires on his truck, and stuff like that. Yeah, sure, man. When it comes to the creativity of stuff, I have a hard time getting behind other people's ideas. Me and Megan fight about this. We've been doing it for 30 years. So it's not just the car thing. It's just kind of how I am. And we're all like that in a certain way, which is kind of why, like I said, I'd love to open a shop one day and this and that. No, I wouldn't. I absolutely wouldn't, because I would fail, because I can't, unless the guy had the exact same taste as me, I would have a problem with it. I wouldn't get things done as fast. I wouldn't be motivated to work on it, and I wouldn't love it, right? So we've talked about it a lot. Work on what you love. I love old trucks, but this truck came in here with this is how it's getting done, which is awesome. That's how Scotty should do it. I'm not telling him to bend to mine, not by any stretch. But it's something I should have been more aware of. my own personal thing. That's all. And I wasn't. I was, but I kind of ignored it. And so it would, and then it was, guys, this truck has fought us every step of the way. And I told Jay at one time, I think it's kind of cursed, and that's why it's taking Scotty so long. And he said, no. And I don't mean that. I'm not trying to, say things bad about his truck. It's because guys, this thing is awesome. The way it's put together. I'm underneath it. I'm like, oh my, I'm jealous of what this thing looks like underneath. It's perfect. And it's definitely perfect for him. And it might even be too perfect for me. And that's kind of another thing that happened with me is when we were doing things, and all I kept thinking was like, what if I screw this up? What if I screw this up? Some of the stuff on there is like, yeah, you can find the panels and all that, but guys, hardware, I don't forget, the hardest time doing that. And I didn't want to break something that he already did. I didn't want to mess something up. I just don't, guys, same thing. I'm looking at my motorcycle sitting right here. I don't ride other people's motorcycles. You got some people like, oh, that's a nice bike, man. Let me ride it. Nope, don't want to do it. I got no use to do it. And if somebody asked me to ride my bike, well, this might upset you, but I'm judging you. Why you got to ride mine? Go get your own, That's just that's my thing. People want to drive other people's cars. They want to do this stuff. Where does it stop? And I'm going to stop before I tell a crude joke or something. But I just don't like it. What if something happens? I took Jesse's bike out for a ride the other day. He had something wrong and couldn't figure it out. I just went around the parking lot the whole time and like, dude, don't dump this thing. And why would I? I've been riding the same parking lot, whatever. It's no big deal. But you never know. And when you borrow somebody's stuff and you screw it up, it's a whole. My father always told me, if you got to borrow something, you better give it back better than you. So that's in my head. I don't want to screw this guy's thing up. And I tend to live my life like that, guys. It's like, other than motorcycles I've owned, Jesse's is the first one I've ridden. I've been riding since 1999. So what does that tell you, right? And that's kind of how I feel with everything. I don't like doing it. My buddy Joe had to borrow my truck, and he took it down to South Carolina. He picked up his boat. I was like, yeah, do what you got to do, man. His car sat right here in the driveway. Didn't move. I did have to take it home from work, but then it didn't move. So that's a lot of talking to tell you I don't like messing with other people's stuff. So that was a hard time with that. I didn't want to do anything too big, right? I'm giving you a lot of excuses, guys, but I swear they're actually reasons. You know what I mean? So we kept going with it. We took 4 days off of work, Jay and I both, to get it done, like a year ago. Like, this is going on too long, let's do it. The compressor broke the first day, then Jay had to do this, and I had to do that, and boom, 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 boom. And it's just, even then, guys, we couldn't make it a priority. And, I mean, some things break, things happen, got it. But, so then when I got the 65 out of here, for Joe to work on that, I put this over there, and I left the parts out to sand on them and everything. And I did a lot of that. But I didn't do all of it still. You guys saw the bed sides weren't sanded. And that's, anybody could do that. It's not like, you a certain skill set or anything. But again, I just couldn't get behind it. And then Jay mentioned a few times, hey, man, I wasn't the first choice either. By the way, guys, there's this guy down here that painted Mark's truck. You don't know Mark, but you'll probably meet him sometime. He had like a 94, he still got it, 94 F-150. He bought it brand new, and it needed some redoing, and he was doing the truck. This guy, Tony, had a little shop that he worked inside his house. Guy's a great painter, body guy, all that. He's got some other problems in his life that he doesn't get. I mean, not only does he get, that's his job, right? And he's not getting things done. I mean, I get my job done at least. But so after a lot of issues, he was going to paint this truck. He was going to finish Mark's and then do this one. And then the wheels came off over there. So Jay's like, hey, can you do it? And in reality, it should have gone to a shop. You know, after everything that happened here is nothing like what happened with Tony. So that's you know, but yeah, we should have learned our lesson that time. Is what we should have done. But there's a couple shops up by where Scotty lives, and Jay's got that Plymouth I told you guys about. That thing was painted at one of them 20-something years ago. Jay was like, maybe longer than that, but Jay was like, that's probably where it should have gone. And I'm like, yeah, you know. But so Jay mentioned, hey man, you want to call it? And I'm like, no man, I've had it this long, I got to get it done. And I know that I wanted to, I just couldn't. It was the follow through on my side was terrible, and I said, but you can call it an excuse, but we were kind of doomed from the get-go the way, and that's me too. I said I should have gone and looked at it. I would have known what I was getting into. I wasn't planning on blowing this thing apart. I wasn't planning on retapping stuff and bending metal and doing all this stuff to make it all work. I wasn't planning on any of that. And that's what all had to happen. So I said we we're going to just go right through it, and we did. It's 20-something minutes. Man, I should probably shut up by now. But these are all things you got to take into account. And they say it all the time, and I didn't believe them, man. But they're like, you know, oh, if you do something, there's two sides to this. I'm going to tell you two anecdotes. I think that's what they're called. They'd say if you do something you love, you never work a day in your life. But they also say if you take your hobby and make it into something for a living, now it's a job. You don't want to do it no more. I think they're both true, depending on the hobby and depending on what you love to do. So in this case, the second one is where I'm at. So I know that now. And I wasn't doing this for the money and all this kind of stuff, all that, because guys, I didn't ask for it. You know, it's funny. Scotty asked what I wanted. I said, I want to get one of those those blow up tents. So just take it. He's like, "What? Are you crazy? You know what paint jobs cost?" Yeah, I do. That's why most of mine don't get painted. But so it wasn't anything like that. So don't take that the wrong way. But now you might ask yourself, you know, elephant in the room, I guess, because it's right behind the truck, about Chippy's car. There's a big difference there. And I don't want to bore you with all the details, but let's just say I absolutely love that car. I have a lot of personal memories with that car, and it's different. So it's that simple. You guys will figure that out as we go along with the Cutlass. Hopefully I didn't piss everybody off. So Scotty, Jay, and I were all still friends, all that. Nobody's mad at anybody. We did save him quite a bit of time and money with all the stuff we had to do. So if he does take it to his shop, that's done. And yeah. Guys, you got to live and learn. That's it. And I'm going to learn when to shut up. So thanks for watching, guys.